All right, so today we're doing something a little different. We're not digging into a research paper or a bunch of data. Instead, we're jumping into a really personal story. It's all about that wild, transformative time in college, a journey of figuring out who you are, or as the source puts it, a process of becoming. And you know what? We're actually going to start at the end. Because this one sentence right here, it just perfectly captures the whole vibe of this journey. All the confusion, the growth, and that excitement of finding your place in the world. This really sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold. Okay, so let's rewind. Way back to the beginning. Section 1, a joyful new beginning. Our story kicks off at that moment of pure potential, high school graduation. You know, that time when you feel like you have it all figured out, right before the amazing chaos of college is about to hit? You can almost feel that, can't you? The narrator paints this picture of being surrounded by proud family, laughing with friends. It's that classic, perfect moment. You're on the brink of this huge new chapter and you're just filled with nothing but optimism for what's coming next. But what's really interesting is that our narrator already had his compass pointed in a clear direction. He wasn't just going to college to go to college, he was chasing a feeling. For him, programming wasn't just some dry, boring subject. As you can see here, it felt like straight up magic. And that passion was the spark that was about to light up his whole college experience. So that brings us to our second section, cracking the college code. This is where that initial spark of passion meets the cold, hard reality of university life. This next phase is all about trying to figure out a brand new world, both with people and with his classes. You know how some people just dive right in head first? Well, that wasn't him. His first year was quiet, almost strategic. He was just watching, learning the social landscape and trying to figure out where he fit in. It's a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to, that first year of trying to map out a totally new environment. And by watching and waiting, he found his first real connections. It wasn't some huge group, just two key people. A quiet guy who loved to dance to R&B, so they nicknamed him Chris Brown, and this brilliant, super fast-walking computer geek. These were the friendships that started to make a huge university feel a little less lonely. But making friends couldn't solve all his problems. The academic side of computer science, yeah, that was a whole different beast. The story makes it super clear that the program was packed with tough math and science courses, and it was a serious reality check for a lot of students. And this is where things get really real. College wasn't just fun and games. It was a filter. Just like the slide says, after that second year, some people were gone. They either failed out or just couldn't afford it anymore. But that hardship had this unexpected effect. For the ones who made it through, that shared struggle made their bond so much stronger. And that shared struggle, that's what really kicks off our third section, the rhythm of friendship. The insane academic pressure didn't break them. In fact, it did the opposite. It brought them together and led to this incredible period where they really came into their own socially. So here's the cool part. Instead of just being this group of stressed out students trying to survive, they transformed. They became known as the cool section. They built this whole identity around their inside jokes, their laughter, and just a camaraderie that made them stand out. And a huge part of this new vibe, well, they discovered nightlife. And this wasn't just random partying, it was like a ritual. This cycle, clubs, beer, karaoke, and dancing, it became the rhythm of their social lives. It was the soundtrack to their friendship and the perfect escape from all that stress from their classes. By their final year, the crew was set. The original Chris Brown was there. A new friend gets the nickname T-Pain. And our narrator? They start calling him Neo. And these names weren't just for fun, right? They were a badge of honor, a sign that you belonged. And this quote just perfectly sums up that last year. I mean, they'd skip class to go drink at a bar in the middle of the afternoon. Sure, it was reckless, but it was also a celebration of how far they'd come, of their friendship, and that feeling of freedom you get when the end is in sight. These were the moments that stick with you forever. But college is never that simple, is it? It's not all code and parties. Which brings us to section 4, an unspoken love. Here, the story shifts to a completely different rhythm, the messy, complicated, and sometimes painful beat of a first love. So the narrator finds himself in this relationship that's, Well, it's complicated. It's something called MU, or mutual understanding. It's that tricky gray area where you both know how you feel, but you never actually make it official. You're more than friends, but you're not a couple. It's a recipe for some intense feelings and some deep confusion. And this slide just lays out the devastating fallout from all that uncertainty. On the outside, he played it cool. He didn't confront anyone. But inside, it was a totally different story. He was just eaten up by jealousy, anger, and insecurity. And the drinking wasn't for celebrating anymore, it was to try and numb a pain that he just couldn't talk about. That contrast is really the emotional heart of this whole story. So, after all the code, the late night parties, and the heartache, what was the final lesson? In our last section, we're going to pull it all together and see what college really taught him. This timeline really lays out his whole transformation, doesn't it? He starts off as this quiet observer, just trying to survive. Then he finds his people and his rhythm, and by the end, he's dealing with both this incredible freedom and this really deep, complicated love. It's a whole journey from start to finish. And that's the big takeaway, isn't it? The most important classes he took weren't on any syllabus. The real curriculum was learning the value of friendship, the energy of music, the intensity of first love, the crushing weight of jealousy, and just how complex our emotions can be. Those were the lessons that really shaped him. And that really brings it all home. This story, as personal as it is something we can all relate to, right? It's about finding those patterns, those people, those feelings that make us who we are during those big, formative years. So it kind of leaves us with a question to chew on for ourselves. What were the rhythms that define you?